I wanted to kind of show how you can do this skeleton figure and really have fun with it. You can do different heights. You can see what's in here. You can do different heights. You can do different poses. And for the most part, I mean, they all look very similar to me. There's little subtle differences. This person right here seems to have a bigger chest. This person seems to be really thin. It doesn't really change so much, but once you add, wait, I'm sorry, I thought I saw a hand. Any questions? No. Once you start to add the skin or that person over that, you can kind of see that everybody is a little different. But the skeleton figures also look very similar. You can really just have a lot of fun with that, and I'm going to zoom into each person right now to give you guys a really good look at them. I really love him. I was thinking of Fabio when I did this guy, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted a strong-looking guy. There you go. So that was my skeleton.
That really could be anything once it's just a skeleton. It really
Exactly. I mean, this could be somebody waving, you know? You can, I mean.
Also could be from a back view too, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It really could be.
What else could be?
Somebody shielding their eyes from the sun.
Yes,
Oh, there you
yes.
go. Yeah.
Somebody trying to catch a bus. Hey.
Saluting.
Like,
Yeah. This guy's just flexing. He's trying to show off.
she's not even looking.
She's not even looking. You know what she's looking at? She's like, yes. So yeah, this guy, he's pretty toned. And it's just how you put that skin on there, that body. And again, with this person, this is this girl right here. She's very petite. Go to her. That pose is, as I was thinking, like shy or bashful. Oh, that's another thing. I try to keep it in emotions too. Like, what is this person? What do I want them? Am I drawing a shy character? Am I drawing this person right here who's obviously very confident with his looks? You know,
because his legs are far apart.
Yeah,
and
he's standing there. He's very
his knees
proud.
are out.
Yeah.
Versus knees knocking together and body being close.
Yeah, you can see a lot in somebody's positioning. You know, body language is really awesome thing to use with art. There she is. Again, she could be, I don't know, putting on her makeup. Brushing her teeth right there. Maybe she's like gotta pee, but she's still brushing her teeth, and she's like, I gotta go. But there she is. She's doing the peace sign. She's happy.
Good for her.
This guy, oh god, I love him. He's, you know, I don't know what else this could be. He could be, you know, hailing a taxi, or he's just
ready to fight like a man.
there you go. And again, like all the body, the skeletons are very similar, but just you can have fun with it. You can make this person round and give them, was it stockier legs? I think somebody mentioned. That's actually something you can look at right here. This person has longer legs. They've got, you know, this person over here is kind of shorter, a little stubbier. And you can see how that really shows up when you add that skin.
Is it that his legs are different length, or is it just that they're stockier, giving them the illusion of being short?
It could also be the pose, too, because it's kind of a little bit of illusion. Maybe if he was standing straight,
I mean, like a thinner person versus not so thin. The legs could be the same length, but just because of the stockiness, it appears to be shorter.
Yeah.
Due to proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's go. Again, there it is. I mean, I wanted to do crossed arms. And I think earlier I said you can also, in addition, do the hands as well, so you remember that they're there. But this, I was kind of, I knew what I wanted. I didn't really feel the need to, because her hands aren't visible, you know. their knees kind of line up, there's the feet. I don't really put too much detail into the feet when I'm doing the skeleton or the hands, just because, you know, I don't really feel, I don't see the need to, but some people do. If that's something that you like to do, definitely stick with what you know and stick with what you're comfortable with. Right here, I love these two. Let's look at their skeletons. When I drew this, I was thinking they're gonna think this is the girl and this is the guy. I think this person right here has a very confident pose. This person seems shy. They also look more feminine. This person right here standing here looks very just like, heck yeah. So I was having a lot of fun with that, and I wanted you to see how you can really play with these skeletons, and just kind of think outside the box. And somebody who's like this could still be confident, or someone who's like this could still be shy. So, any questions on this one? Okay.
Yeah, general question to all these, especially the gal on the right.
Okay.
And I apologize, I was like 10, 15 minutes late. But
Oh, that's okay.
the round circles at the pelvis area there,
Right
I'm
here?
comparing those with the shoulder. Are those all just the actual skeletal pivot points? Because I notice I tend to like just go to that edge, and then
Yes,
you have
me
to
too,
fill
yes.
flesh and
Yes.
muscle in there, I guess, that I didn't think about earlier. Is that what you're doing there?
It sounds like what he's saying is about visualizing if that is literally where the rotation of the joint would be, the center of that ball. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then building up the flesh around it instead
Yeah.
of using that as the actual outline possibly for a
Yeah,
shoulder.
yeah. Just think of that as because you know our bones are a little bit, they're under there somewhere. Just think of that as your bones, basically the skeleton. And then when you're drawing the body, just imagine, you know, you gotta kind of visualize those muscles, and then visualize the layer of skin over that to kind of give that person some shape. So yeah, that's just basically giving you a good idea of where the joints are. This is just shoulders, elbow, wrist, and these are the hips right here. So that's just there to give you a good idea of where to, you know, where things are, where they belong.
Well, that actually helps out a great deal. Thank you, actually explaining that. So.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something else too. I was meant to mention about poses. I kind of have problems sometimes with posing, and I know that whenever I have, like, I'm kind of struggling with something that I like to do is, especially with hands, I think hands and feet are kind of like a trouble area for people.
Yeah.
Hands, kind of for me. So I kind of like, I like to like look at my own hand and kind of like visualize and see like, how am I drawing this person's hand? You know, are they pointing the gun, or not pointing the finger? Are they going like this? And you can see me every day through my window, just like me going like through my hand. I'm always kind of like motioning and doing what I'm doing. Like if somebody's doing something, if they're sitting down, if they're doing Indian style, I'll get on the floor and I'll get in that pose so that I can feel and kind of like get an idea of where things are going. If you have a friend or a family member, and you can just go up to them and ask them, can you kind of like pose for me, take a picture of them, or pose in front of a mirror, take a picture of yourself, and use yourself as a reference.
Yes, may I say about references that I know that some people, when I was doing digital drawing and such, I felt like I was copying when I'm looking at these references of other people's artwork, but I was using this as reference to get ideas for certain poses that I couldn't actually come up with in my head. I mean, some dynamic poses I can't exactly hold this image in my mind of somebody like flying through the air, leaping like a ninja, foreshortened,
Right.
unless I actually see an image to give me an idea, and then I build my character around that and just look at it to get that idea of like how the arms would overlap, the distance of like how big the hand would be to the face, because the hand's going to look huge compared to the face.
Exactly, yeah. There's a foreground and a background.
So, let's say save as. Let's say you go into like a computer like Google, you see an image, you like I want to use that as a reference, so it's okay to just download that for reference and
Right.
such.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's you could go to who's that website?
Flickr. Or-
That there's a something like Shack. I don't remember.
Shack.
You can go online and actually type in poses. I've done that too as well. Type in Indian pose or kneeling or bowing, and you can find images of all that online and just use that as a reference. Use that as and also do it yourself.
I did that too. Yes.
Yeah. just kind of like when you're doing it, if you are doing it yourself, just kind of do a mental checklist. Okay, like my hands are on my knees and my spine is curved because I'm bending down. You know, it's just a really good thing to keep in mind.
Thank you.
So let's see. All right, so that's it for these people. If anybody has any questions or wants to see one of them close up, just let me know. There we go. All right, so now human versus Anthro.
Oh boy.
I don't know, I think some people came in late. I kind of wanted to start with human shapes first, just to kind of get a good beginning basics and introduction into this kind of stuff, because it gets a little different as you get into Anthro.
Oh yes.
So, here we go. This is a side view of a human and a side view of just a generic Anthro person.
Yeah, puppy.
Which one? He looks a little puppyish. I was, you know, I had a werewolf on the mind a lot. So I just tried to do a very similar pose for the both of them, so that you guys would be able to see how things are similar and how things are a little different as well. And I'll take away that skin really quick. And here we go. I think the top half is very, very similar. It's exactly the same, actually. Once we get to the legs, things do get different. We've got the hips, we have the knees, we have the ankles, and this part right here is just the toes. Go ahead.
Interesting thing that I noticed though is that the position of the hips and the position of the ankles are pretty much the same on both of them.
Yeah.
It's the center of gravity.
Yeah. Yep. But they just, you know, it's just a little, it's really interesting when you finally see it like that, that it's just, it's similar and different. It's really awesome. When it comes down to the toes, I mean, like I said, I don't really go into detail too much with the feet, just because that's, we all know what the feet look like. I know that there's obviously bones in here and joints and, like, you know, toes. Same with this. There's a ball here, I know, but it's basically the toes.
Yeah.
I put that there. What was that?
Humans are so weird.
So I'll do that again. And you can kind of see, we've got the head, body, torso, and then we've got the hips, we've got the knees, ankles. Ankles are a little bit different. And
I meant the toes, not the ankles. So
yeah,
center of gravity
yeah.
position.
I've actually seen people kind of they'll do the leg, and then they'll do this. They think this is it, and then they do another one, and then they do the feet. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, that's a little odd, you know? Because you've got, I don't know, it just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because that's not realistic. I mean, it's an anthro person, but there is no extra joint there.
I've seen shorter like shins though.
That's true.
I think like what they're trying to do is that if you look at the pivot point on the digigrade leg,
Mhm.
if you were to take that down, because
Right.
sometimes you have cats that do that sitting position where it all seems to look like one big foot,
Yeah,
and then it comes back up to the hip. I think that might be what they're attempting to do.
yeah. But more often, I mean, like, I do see that too. I think people, it's always a good idea to kind of just Google search and look up actually the animal you're trying to draw, just to kind of get reminded and be like, oh, okay, well, their legs are kind of, when I was a little bit later on, I was looking at my own cats walking around the room, just thinking, well, how are their legs going, you know? Because I draw cat people all the time, but when you're trying to be really accurate, it's kind of more important to actually look at the animal too. Go ahead.
A question on that point. Is it better to, because a lot of animals' snoots are actually part of the bone structure in their head,
Right.
is it better to actually draw the snoot as a bone structure as opposed to just the circle there to actually give more definition to that, or?
It's definitely, I definitely would recommend that. I think that's something that I probably could have done differently to kind of give you guys a better idea. But that's something that's probably a really good idea to do, just because you do want to keep that in mind. and different snouts and different animals. So a cat will have a shorter one, a dog will have a bigger one. If you're doing a giraffe, it's gonna be longer, you know, so that's
course.
really a good thing to keep in mind. Okay,
Very similar.
so, I mean, again, I should also put out there that this is how I tend to draw my Anthro people and how I tend to draw my hands. Different people, different artists have different styles. I've definitely seen different styles of paw hands, and you know, they're all awesome. Just this is kind of how I do it. So you can always take like little snippets from each artist and get inspired and create your own style. Or if you find one that you feel comfortable with, then that's probably a good one to go with. So, too close. Here we go. Again, they're both the same. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but of course, there we go. And I like to add little paw pads.
Well, of course.
On the Anthro. Some people don't. I think when I'm doing commissions and I see, I get a ref sheet of a character and they don't have paw pads, I always like to double check with them and say, are you okay with not having paw pads? Would you prefer paw pads? Just to make sure that they're gonna be happy with their commission at the end of it. So it's also a personal preference. Some people just don't want that.
Ooh, fascinating.
Again, similar, but different. And like I said, I know that there's bone structure here. There's toes and digits, and I think it's a really good idea if you're gonna be doing Anthro or animal, or I guess human too, fingers and toes, take pictures or Google search images to get a really good idea and get comfortable and familiar with that. And of course, if you're doing a cat, don't look up a dog toe. don't look up dog feet. You want to be precise and just kind of get familiar with the animal that you're drawing. What was that? Okay, that's that one. Now we can go on straight to Anthro. So, very similar to my basic human, basic Anthro. Again, I start with the head. When I say that I start with the head, like usually when I'm putting down the skeleton, I start with the head. I always do the circle first and then I go on from there. So there's that. Again, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hands, torso, spine, hips, the ankle, knees, foot. There you go. And we've got a thin version and a thick version. And like somebody asked earlier, just you gotta kind of keep in mind that there's layers of fat or layers of skin under that fur. So you could always do a straight line first to kind of give this person some shape, and then on top of that, add fur to make them fluffier.
Very cool.
Excellent.
There we go. Again,
Slender.
playing with poses here. And we've got our hips, and we're kind of just playing around with this. And like I said earlier, if you're going to be doing any type of layering of limbs, this person's hands coming over their body, you do want to continue to draw that line out beneath it so that this lines up. Again, here we are having fun with the pose. Try to have fun with this. It's just, I don't know anybody who could, it's kind of a difficult pose to do, but I think a cat person could probably pull it off. I think that's also another cool thing to keep in mind if you're drawing a cat person or you're drawing a dog person, kind of keep that type of personality in mind when you're drawing them. Like, cats are very agile and very, mysterious, and this person definitely looks the part.
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna point out too. We have the hips right here, and we have a knee. We've got, this is something that I like to do. I always draw everything. Even though this foot is not visible and does not show up in the final drawing, it's still there. Because I wanna make sure that I'm accurate. I don't want to accidentally have the toes coming out over here, because that's not gonna line up. I mean, we know that those toes have a limit. There you go. Any questions? Alright, so now we're gonna go on to feral, which is pretty fun. I like to do feral now more than I do anthro. I mean, I of course I do both. I just think it's more fun to do a more like fun. I think I can have more fun with that with feral. So again, it's a little different now. You've got the head, and here somebody mentioned the snout, and we've got the neck, we've got the chest, we've got the hips, a little tail ball. I mean, I don't know why I put that in there, but I thought it was funny. And we've got knees, we've got the ankle, and we've got the toes. We've got the wrists right here, and we've got these toes, and there you go. And again, you see here that this, of course, this leg is invisible, but I wanted to include that in there because that helps give me an idea of how long that leg should be. I don't want this to continue down further and be at a different length. I want them to be, pretty similar in length, and that way it's more accurate. Okay?
I'm just looking at the fore paws, the front paws.
Okay?
Just trying to make it analogous to the human arm.
Yeah.
You've got the upper arm,
We
you've
have
got
the
the
shoulder.
forearm, and you've got the wrist, and then you've got the palm part, and then you've got the fingers hanging out there. So that's,
If you want, I can even zoom in. Oh, hold on. There we go.
yeah.
I can take that away too.
Yeah, and then you can see where that dew claw would be,
Yep.
where a thumb would potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? I mean, about this? And if you all want to see something again or have me zoom in like this, go ahead and ask.
One quick question. I don't know if you might have covered this, but about the distance between something, like the proportion of making sure things are anatomically correct, as like see the large ball for the chest
Okay?
versus the ball for the hip. The distance between is, how does one decide like how long that's going to be?
How long it's going to be?
How
I
from
mean,
distance,
basically,
like-
I just looked at a dog. I had to
So,
look
so
up
pretty much that's
visual
okay.
reference.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to keep in mind the animal. Like there's the African wild dog who's got very long legs, or the painted dog, I think. One of the two.
Right.
Very, very, very long legs. And then you've got, of course, giraffes, long legs. So you got to keep in mind that type of body type you're doing.
Right.
Corgi would be drawn way differently. They would be shorter here, and
Very squish.
it would just be about this. Pretty much this right here.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have a handout, free little something for you guys after.
Yay.
So we have a cat, and it looks pretty similar, a little bit, with the dog. We've got the hips. Here we go, hips. And again, the same thing. I did draw that out just because I want to make sure that this is pretty accurate. Was looking at my cats when I was doing this one.
Ah, very good.
So here we go. We've got a tail, little legs, dainty.
That's a cat.
Small little face, small nose. Although not all cats and dogs, of course, are created equally. We have, my cats have, my male cats have big noses. And my female cats, tiny little, very tiny noses. And I think that's kind of fun to keep in mind too. If you're doing a male cat or a male character or a female character, kind of keep in mind like men's noses and features, they are different. They're a little bit bigger. Women or female characters tend to be a little bit smaller or petite. Cats, it's really awesome to see that little difference in the nose shapes when it comes to gender. Okay, this is something I had fun with. So a lot of people, I think, kind of forget there's a little thing here. I went on Wikipedia to try to make sure that I remembered. I know this is called the dew claw, but also that this is the carpal pad right here. Kind of, huh?
Carpal.
Yeah.
Carpal the wrist.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
So this is, let me see.
So in reality, there's no such thing as a four digit paw, really. So, because like sometimes I've always like seen like drawings and stuff that got the four paws, or sometimes I'm like, I see this, I'm like, okay, there's like a difference, like
Yeah.
it's a lot more detail. Yeah.
And there's, you could always have fun with this. You could always make it more toony. This is more realistic.
I figured. Yeah.
But this is just to give you guys a really good idea about this type of feature on or canine paws.
I like how you put the fluff in between the tags.
Yeah, gotta have that fluff. Go ahead.
There's just something I remember from, about dogs and cat paws. There's somewhere you can put an X in the pads fit in the X
Oh, yeah.
on one of them, and the other one it doesn't work.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I'd be
Yeah.
interested to see that. I mean, I'm sure. I think it sounds familiar what you're saying. Let's see.
Because I remember some kids' books on the anatomy of animals or something, and I remember looking at there, and it was like, oh, I never knew that.
I wonder if it's cats, just because they got smaller.
I think they're
I
more
was thinking
round.
the dogs
maybe.
had the X, but I can't remember which it was, but there's you just put an X in there, oh, that's a dog paw print.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
definitely want to look that up.
Yeah.
Snapper.
And so it's really good too, like things like that to kind of like, if you really want to get into more detail with this type of stuff, definitely do images, search images, and just look up everything you can to kind of get familiar and comfortable with that subject. And everything. And I had to put my kitty on the bed and be like, let me look at your paws.
Very rounded, quite rounded.
Yeah, little round, little beans. There you go, beans. And again, it's very similar to, there we go. We've got the dew claw and the purple pad. Dew pod, there. And again, my cat's nails needed trimming, obviously. Once I saw those, I was like, okay, it's time to trim your nails. But I think it's kind of cool too that for the most part, nails aren't usually visible on cats, and so when I'm drawing a cat character, I will probably do something like.
That's due to retractable claws versus the dogs, which were the
Yeah,
canine, which
exactly.
are not retractable.
I usually tend to do on a cat character, something like that, just kind of indicate that's where the nail would come out.
So
Excellent.
they do have a separator, a skin separator there.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, very nice.
If you want, I can zoom into that. Some people, I know some artists who prefer not to draw the nostrils.
Me.
You? That's obviously personal preference. I personally love to draw them. I don't know, I have fun drawing those little holes. I don't know what it is. But I do love being accurate on that and trying to be more, a little bit more realistic. Again, obviously there's a huge difference here. There's the canine nose and little cat noses. Longer snout and a shorter one.
What about beaks?
Oh, I should have done beaks. finally,
Oh yeah.
this is something I wanted to just briefly do, which was talk about emotions, yes, expressions. You can really tell this character here is maybe a little afraid, or they're sad. We've got a happy character and mad. And of course, I think this person's just chilling out. They're having fun. It's just a different expression. They're really howling at the moon. And of course, I started out with the head, just doing, I use these little crosses right here to kind of give an idea of where that face is going to be aimed, or where they're looking. And I always do tend to draw my eyes right on it, right on the line.
Right. May I say too, that's one thing that's a key difference too about human face versus anthro face, is that that line, instead of being the brow line, is actually usually tends to be the bottom of the eye or just above the cheekbone.
Right.
On an anthro face or feral face.
Yeah.
I learned from Tracy Butler, I just put a little circle to the snoot.
Okay. So.
Big nose.
So I just wanted to give you guys an idea on how you can use these shapes to kind of help guide you in making from, step by step to getting you that expression, or getting you that look that you want for your character. Obviously this right here is extremely different from this one. It's rounded, it's just kind of giving me a basic idea. This would have been something that I did really quickly. It's this kind of thinking this is what I want. And then after maybe playing around with it some more, thinking, okay, I'm gonna add this for the back of the ear. Gonna probably go into define that there's definitely, what is this right here?
Fold. I just call it
Just
ear
yeah, just a
fold.
fold. Obviously gonna add those eyes, maybe make some fluff right here for those cheeks. And then the next step was kind of defining that, like, okay, lots of fluff. Try to have fun with that, going into more detail. Then this next one is kind of, this is just simple shading. Trying to keep in mind, like, maybe there's probably light up here somewhere kind of beaming down. So obviously this part wouldn't have any shade. There would be no shadow here. Just under the chin, under the jaw, or the mouth, under the ears. And it kind of gives it a really different feel. Obviously, it's not that much of work to kind of go from point A to point A, B, C, D. There you go. I know my alphabet. But it really is fun to see how it doesn't take a lot of steps to get this from that.
Excellent.
Again, this same thing. We added that shape there for the. Yeah. And again, just kept in mind basic shape for the ear. Obviously, I started to define things here. Wanted to add certain things, features. Went further into defining those features, and finally got to this. And I think that's pretty much all I had. And of course the cat. Now I don't know if anybody wanted to see me draw something really quickly to kind of get an idea.
It's up to you if you like.
Yeah, totally.
I'd never get to see anybody use Paint Tool Psi like live before. Like it's always like a video of somebody doing it.
Yeah.
I'd like to get this program. Is it?
Yeah,
Could you
it's
recommend
really
it?
good. I'm not very comfortable with Photoshop.
Yes, I've heard people say that about Photoshop. I think it's overwhelming.
It is. I tend to be somebody who's just like, I see all these different things and I'm just like, oh, it's a little complicated. I'm a little nervous. I get nervous too. What was that?
I use Krita.
What's that? Oh, really?
I've heard somebody else recommend that too.
Like using a pencil feels like an actual like pencil, the way it draws and everything. It seems to come out better than when I try to use a clip studio.
Oh, okay. When I'm sketching, I really love to sketch in color. I don't like to do black because I feel like it gets muddy, and I feel like I kind of get lost. So what I'll do is I pick out a color that I'm thinking, and I'll just kind of do a big circle And then what I will do next is I'll make another layer, and I'll kind of dim this one out, and then I can see what I'm doing better. You know, what I'm working with is darker, but I still have that. Cindy, do you have a question on that? No? Okay.
I was just, ah.
Oh. So, let's see. What do I wanna do? Let's see.
Well,
I like to start with eyes. I don't know if anybody has preferences like that, like.
I do too. I start with
Yeah.
eyes. Now, question two: do you tend to draw eyelids to your characters? Because I know some people always have the big, bright-eyed expression, no eyelids, and some people really always show the eyelids too, almost towards not to give it a sleepy look,
Right.
but just to give it more shape, to give more
Um,
expression. Because eyelids can also show expression too.
Yeah. It really depends on the type of expression you're going for. Obviously, if you want to go for somebody who's maybe looking angry, you will.
Like not eyebrows, but eyelids, the actual lids themselves.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
But you would have that there.
Kind of the Nick Wilde look. He's got
Yeah.
the half closed eye.
This person maybe didn't get enough sleep.
So,
Well, and even humans have different eyelid shapes just
Yes.
innately. I mean,
Exactly.
there are
Yeah.
some people that have deeper set eyes, or eyes that are more prominent, or people that have hooded eyelids. so
Yeah.
that it doesn't even look like they have eyelids until they blink.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So because somebody mentioned that there was no birds, I'm gonna try to see if I can do a bird right now. I don't really like doing birds, but I think I mentioned at the beginning is that this is a different setup for me, so I'm trying to get used to this as I go.
bird is the word. Okay, let's check this
And I just did a macaw too.
out. Nice. Nice.
Oh, another tool that I always use if I'm doing digital. You see this little? Oh, there we go.
The eyedroppers.
It's something I really love to use, just to kind of get a different angle of my drawing, to make sure that I'm kind of making it. You might draw something one way and then flip it, and it's like, whoa, what was I thinking? So it's really fun to kind of use this tool in between in the process of drawing, just to kind of see that it does kind of make sense, even when it's flipped.
Or even just how you're used to drawing things with one hand, it's kind of hard to do it the other way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
See, I don't know if this would be, I don't know if his eyes would really show that much, just because there is some feathers here. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be, it doesn't mean like everything has to be visible. It could just be hidden a little bit like that.
Yes.
What about things like eyes visible behind hair?
Like, do you, I don't
Like
know.
say someone has long hair and it's covering like the eyes and stuff. But
Um,
yet you still want the eyes to be visible, so it's kind of hard to see. That's
sometimes, you know, like, I know I've seen people do that where they'll show the hair going over it, but they'll still show the eye shining through. I think that's just a kind of like personal preference. I know I've seen it, and I know that it's out there, I see people do it all the time. I think personally, me, I would just have the hair and not show the eye. Just because it's kind of fun to think, oh, well, that there is an eye under there, obviously, but you know, like if I put my hair down, you wouldn't be able to see my eye, so. But like I said, it's a personal preference. I moved it right now just because it was getting close to the eye. Or you know what, I'll just put it back and I'll move this. So I don't know if you guys want to look at some more or not. Oh, when I'm drawing over the circle, I actually kind of like to use this right here, this shape. I like to use that as a good idea of where my cheek is. So I would usually use that as a guide. Sure. Oh, and sometimes if I'm doing feathers, I will kind of like do a little bit of a definition right here. Kind of goes a long way. It's kind of like if you look at a feather. You know, it can be fun to play with those. So, a little example right there. Let's see what else. Oh, how long is this panel for? I don't know if somebody's coming in soon after. Probably do one more sketch really quickly and then kind of wrap it up. So last night our panel went a little long, and then the next person came in and I felt bad.
It was a good panel.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna actually try to do a quick pose. Somebody in action. Let's see.
Are you using a reference for this?
Am I doing references?
For this one?
No. Oh, it's a really good idea if you have a pose in mind.
Mhm.
Just to quickly have one, you can even put it inside over here and have it there to look at. I'm just trying to do something off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. I guess after a while it gets easier to do every time. It's-
Yeah. Over time it might get easier. It will get easier.
Good, good. Very good to know. Ooh, nice long legs. Very nice.
And sometimes, you know, you don't have to stick to what you put down. Sometimes you just end up going a little bit off, but it works. As long as you have a really good idea of what you want when you're doing the skeleton.
I mean, off of the skeleton, original skeleton entry, a little off.
Yeah, it's a little off, yeah. I originally had it going up here somewhere, but it ended up pointing down here a little bit. And that's okay, just because I have an idea of what I wanted, it's just a little bit off. Sometimes it'll be, right on there. It would not be like that. There we go. Again, it's just a little bit off. But person probably ate something wrong. Little up the stomach there.
Heat exhaustion.
Oh, that too. Maybe they're lactose intolerant. They have to use cheese.
Yes.
Cheese and milk.
Ew, it sounds nasty.
Oh, and another thing to keep in mind is it's absolutely okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make changes. Nothing is permanent, even eraser and pencil. So just have fun with it. Try not to think too much about it. Don't let a blank canvas, have too much power over you. It's just something that is there for you to have fun with and draw on.
It's there to be filled.
Yeah, especially if you draw every day, you will see differences. You'll see changes. You'll see yourself growing as an artist. Try not to compare yourself too much, because I know I'm an artist and I've been doing this for so long. There's days where I'm looking at someone else's art and I'm like, oh, why can't I draw like this? And I have to remember, no, I started somewhere too, and I used to draw. I wish I had examples of how I used to draw, like at the beginning when I was first starting to be into the fandom, and back when I was a kid. Like, there's a timeline there. You can go down and see how you've changed and progressed as an artist. Never compare yourself to somebody else. Instead, compare your work with your previous work, and that way you can actually see changes and say, oh, I used to draw hands like this, but now I draw them like this, and look how different the eyes are now. So that's always a good thing to keep in mind. If you ever feel like you're a little discouraged, or just a little, I feel discouraged too. It's everyone. It happens to everybody. It happens to all artists. But just try to keep a positive head about it, and just know that every time you're drawing, you're working towards bettering yourself as an artist.
Yes.
I hope that you guys liked my panel. And please come up. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.